this is a property not too far from me, and I really like this property. It's got some issues. Take a look here. Now it's got great roll-up doors. This is an asset, right? Trucks can back up. They got dock levelers. A lot of cool stuff going on there. It has plenty of power. It has, I think, 1,600 amps or maybe 1,800 amps power. That's quite a bit. You know, 3-phase, 480, so it's going to need a transformer to kick it down depending on what kind of machines it uses. I would like to break this into like a flex park, into an industrial, small industrial park. So I would like to break a bigger building like this into smaller units. Now, does this lend itself to do that? A little bit. Not quite like I would like, and I'll explain why. And I'm really kind of sharing more than I normally would here with you guys, but I want you guys to get a good grasp and understand what's going on here. So let's look at this building. Now, this building, a couple things. The depth is not ideal. You know, when you have a business like this, if you're going to put in multiple properties, I think I figured out this thing 600 feet by 125 feet. So I could break it into 7,500 square foot rentals, right? 7,500 square foot rentals. Now, the problem is that on the back side of this, I would want to put like an entry, roll-up doors. You kind of have to have, with any warehouse, you kind of want to have opposing doors, right? You've got goods coming in, maybe they get refurbished, repacked, or constructed into something else if it's manufactured. So, you know, basically shipping in and, you know, receiving and shipping out. Shipping and receiving, right? And so in this case, for retail, this would be way too deep for retail, right? Ideally, depth on retail is going to be 55 to 65 foot deep. You know, this kind of thinks, well, maybe you could have a little bit of a retail-ish facade here, right? Now, again, it's facing neighbors. They probably don't want to face roll-up doors and different things like that, and the noise that comes with it. You know, it is there. It's already there. But, you know, and I've had plenty of industrial properties where they can live with coming in and out the same doors, right here. The other limitation with this is going to be, you know, the bathrooms. It doesn't have bathrooms scattered out through one into the other. So I would have to put individual bathrooms in each unit, because you're not going to have a common area bathroom for all this building. It's not going to work unless you have just a single tenant. But so, Justin, kind of what I'm telling you is the way you see me kind of discerning this building is what you would do with any property, right? What else can I do with it? What other money can I get out of it? I can go back and, you know, in history here and go to, let me show you something. I'll show you something. This is for the earliest days, right, when I started. So I'm going back into California now to show you this. And what I'll show you is, so look, here's this little property right here. So I bought this property for $34,000. And this is probably back in like 1984, something like that. And this was a single house. Go back in the sky here. Just a little house, right? Just a little house on a corner. Well, the fact that it was on a corner, that kind of gives you another access from the side, from the back, as does the house that I just bought today. And I see some similar potential. Now, back then, you know, I mean, I was broke, right? I mean, I probably had 30 grand. And I had a building I'd already bought at this time too, but I was, what was really cool about this is I'd kind of relied on partners at that time. And I got this property for $34,000 under contract, and I figured it was worth about 50. And so the first thing I did is, where you see this car, I poured that concrete like 40 years ago that car is sitting on. And the fence used to come around that car and go back toward the chimney here, like a normal fence, but I pushed it back into the yard, returned it here, put a gate where you see that trash can. It already had this access, this little drive-up access, so that was lucky for me. And what I did is I turned this into like an illegal duplex. I took the laundry room and kind of reframed it, refashioned it so that it could be another unit. And so now, instead of getting $450 a month out of just this house, that's what the house was renting for when I bought it. I continued to get $450 for the house, but I also rented now the unit in the back for $300. So now I was getting $750. And so it increased the value quite a bit, increased the cash flow. Now, the key to making money, I'm telling you right now, you can't, even though that's great, I increased the income, almost doubled the income, right, on this thing. But the problem is that's not enough to live on. That's not going to help you long term. So the big money in this is sell. I paid $34. It was an FHA loan, so I was able to assume the loan. When I sold the property, all somebody had to do was give me $20,000, and I let them assume the note. And so I put $20,000 in my pocket, which was a lot of money back in the early '80s. And now I had another 20 grand to go buy more buildings and make bigger profits. Always understand that flipping is where the money is. Really, flipping is where the money is. You can't really afford to hold in cash flow until you have more money, right? You got to have more money. You got to have hundreds of thousands of dollars before you can start really kind of hanging on to stuff. Or I can tell you, you're slipping, because that's not the best use of your money. Once you get to where you can have a couple $100,000 maybe working for you, and maybe it's enough to take you out of your job and you have your income. And I have several students now in my class that are now full-time investors. They're living on their income, their rental income, and they had like nothing before they started the class. And now these guys have tens of thousands of dollars a month in income, and it's a teachable skill.